everybody. Welcome back to the Legacy Life podcast, where we talk about everything from finance, wealth, meaning to faith. And by no means do we have all of the answers, but we're kind of here to find them with you. So back here again today with my father. Today we kind of wanted to move things more so from the practical side. There are going to be some practicals, but this topic today is a little bit more internal than external. We, over the last few weeks, have been talking about different parts of estate planning and specifics that come along with that. But when it comes to estate planning, a lot of times people think about that when they enter into retirement. Mm-hmm. And this is a big transition in some people's lives, one of the biggest transitions in people's lives. You're going from working decades upon decades to now nothing. Yeah. And, some people have things lined up after retirement, mm-hmm. and that's amazing. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. But some people, and we've heard this a lot, is some people don't have a lot of an idea of what they're going to do in retirement. Yeah. And that can bring up a lot of hopelessness. It can bring up a lot of lack of identity and purpose, but a lot of it is just tied to fear. And so we're going to talk about that today, entering into retirement and the fear that comes with that. Yeah. Obviously, there's the income piece, and there's taxes and estate planning and all the different things that we talk about with clients all the time. Mm-hmm. But the fear of entering into retirement as an overarching thing is a big one. Yeah. It's one of the biggest ones that we see, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. And as I'm sitting here and I was listening to you do the opening and kind of going through and setting the stage for what we're going to talk about, I had another thought. It's kind of a squirrel moment I just had.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so it took us 26 episodes. Yeah. But I kind of feel like maybe I'm going to try for the first time in 26 episodes to say, thank you for coming to the Legacy Life podcast. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And thank you for tuning in today. I'm going to put at the beginning of the episode, right at the end.
Well, one thing that I did see is 95% of the people that watch our podcast aren't subscribed. So if you like what you're watching, feel free to subscribe. And if you hit the notification bell icon on the subscription button, mm-hmm. then you'll see every time we upload. Yeah. And you don't have to go searching for it. It'll let you know.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So sorry, that was my squirrel moment. But I think you're right. I think that one of the largest questions is, if I could just summarize in so many words, a lot of times people are asking, who am I without my work? Right? But sometimes it can be masked by some of the other common questions that would be asked initially, like, can I afford to retire? Can I afford to travel? What if the market crashes again? What about taxes? These are also kind of the surface common, I think, almost program questions that we're told that we should ask when retirement planning. And you should. Those are important. But underneath that, we have found, as we've talked with several, is, I'm afraid I won't know who I am if I stop working. Mm-hmm. So especially in men that I've seen who've worked for 30, 40 years, they're in the day-to-day, the pressure, the grind, got tasks, my calendar's full, got all these things to do, and they're in the mode, right, of doing the work. And, suddenly, if you're going to go to the off-ramp, well, there's no urgent emails, no title on the door, no meetings. It's just you now. And, some people might look at that and say, well, I look at that as relief. I'm not going to have all those things anymore, like knocking at my door. And so I'm going to have this relief. But even in those cases, still some of this, you can find that, okay, you have that relief and you've entered that retirement, and then 30 days goes by and you're like, I got to find something to do. Right. It's still inevitably, it still surfaces that there's this looking for purpose and meaning in life. So let's look at some data. I think Edward Jones did a study with another organization where is about 30 to 35% of retirees struggle to find purpose in retirement. And one of the number one emotions in that study they found is that people report what they call loneliness. Now, loneliness, not to be confused with that means it was just single people that were experiencing this. You can be a very extroverted person and be used to being around a lot of people and still feel like the most lonely person in the room. That
100%.
Right.
That's very true. Yeah.
That can still be the case. So I don't want, I want to make sure we're understanding that when they report loneliness, this is extrovert and introverted people. This is not just one type of person. And Harvard researchers, I found this to be really alarming, kind of unnerving, that the Harvard researchers found that loneliness has the same impact on health as like smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, gosh, that's profound, and that's a lot of impact on your health.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever would have equated it, one habit to loneliness, but apparently it's
right. It
similar
probably
results in the body.
releases similar like chemicals in your body
Yeah.
and all the different things. But
Right. Not a connection I would necessarily make every day.
Right. Yeah.
That's why we need these Harvard researchers to help us out.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
true.
But I'll be honest, it wasn't a study that helped me understand this fear necessarily. It was good, but it was really, I had a client situation that really sticks out in my mind that really kind of brought this home to me, to make it really a part of my practice, to kind of try to make it a part of my conversation with people. And I'll still admit, sometimes I still forget to kind of explore this side of the coin with some clients, but it's still something that's more top of mind than it used to be. I had a gentleman who was 64. He worked for Ford Motor Company. And a great guy, salt of the earth, very friendly, good rapport. Like I really enjoyed talking with him. And he was gearing up to retire at 65. So he saw the off-ramp in about a year. So he's like, hey, I'm going to start talking to somebody. I got to start looking at this. Very common thing. He had a great portfolio, great benefits. He was in a fantastic position. And we went through our process together. We mapped it out, and income plan, and we stress tested it, and even talked through, his legacy and estate planning. He had a daughter, and I guess he was present for all of it. He was really in tune, asking great questions, and he would say over and over, this plan's solid. I love this plan. He would just say that over and over again. This is solid. This is solid. I like this. So okay, good. But every meeting, he would circle back and start to ask some of the same questions as we come back around. Like, well, what happens if I take my Social Security here? If I don't, now impose a 67, or, can we look at that withdrawal schedule again? Can we look at that income schedule again? Can we look at this again? How do I know this is really going to be enough? How do I know this is going to be? And so he started to really question. And at first I thought, okay, he's looking for some reassurance, which is common, but it kept happening third, fourth, fifth, into a sixth meeting. And I thought this was really odd based on how he was feeling solid about everything. And so eventually I'm just like, hey, we'll call him John. Hey, John, what's really holding you back here? Because you keep asking the same questions. And he paused, and he was kind of quiet for a moment. And then he said, I don't know actually what I'm going to do with myself if I actually retire. That's what he said. I was like, oh, that's what's going on here. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with the numbers. It was solid. Because one side of his mind was saying, this is solid, this is great, because logically everything was fine. But there was something else driving the need for reassurance, and it was, if I stop, it had nothing to do with the retirement plan in the portfolio. Yeah. Had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. Had to do with the fact that he didn't know what his next task would be if it wasn't answering an email or doing his Ford Motor Company job. Yeah. Because he says, I have no other hobbies. This has been my whole life. I love Ford Motor Company. I love cars. This is what I do. Mm-hmm. So he didn't know who he would be without it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good question for a lot of people to ask themselves, that you put out there in the beginning, is who am I without my work?
Yeah.
And it's not even a question that you should like, pre-retirees or retirees should ask themselves even. They should, but like even people my age, of any age really,
Yeah.
like if you haven't really started to look at this, and by like, isn't that the question of a lifetime? Like, what is the meaning or what is the purpose of my life anyway?
Right.
Like that's the question that everyone's always asking themselves
Right.
and trying to find the answer to. So like, like there by no means are we going to answer it today, but
Yeah.
um
Yeah. In this podcast, in the next 15
in the
minutes,
next
you too
15
will know.
you too will know the purpose of your life.
Right.
Right? No, probably
Yeah.
not. But like, um it's just from my personal experience, our personal experience,
Yeah.
a lot of our purpose, like who am I without my work? Well, the faith piece comes in because, the gospel is really what like pins it down.
Yeah.
Like, I am a filthy rag without Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
but he's the one that makes me better. He is my
Makes me
righteousness.
alive.
He makes me alive.
Mm-hmm.
He gives me purpose.
Right.
And so, and then like I have a whole community, the body of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
those who also understands like the burden of the gospel, I guess you could
Mhm.
say, but like they understand it, and then you have a whole community of people to support you and to spur you on to like do other things in your community. Like I was thinking, like, okay, how much time do I actually spend doing things like, yes, I have work, I have other like projects that I have going on like personally and all these different things. But I spend so much time of my week like either doing something with somebody in our church community or like some project that's going on, like someone needs help moving or like whatever's going on. There's always something going on. And I'm like, wow, if I did not have that, I would have so much free time on my hands. Like I wouldn't know what to do with myself. And so I like really, like I really, really like empathize and sympathize with people who don't necessarily have a community like that.
Yeah.
Because it is like such a blessing, right?
Yeah.
But my heart is like I want people to have that, like have not even necessarily the same exact community that we have, because
Sure.
like everybody's different, and I don't think everyone should have the same community
Right.
that we have.
But they need people.
But they need people. People need people, right?
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking about the question that you're asking. I'm like, dang, like how do you even answer that question, right? And a lot of it comes down to like, well, who am I without my work is like who did God create me to be?
Right. Because, what makes someone feel fully alive from one person to the next obviously can be different because we're all made differently. But it's also a question you got to spend time with. Like,
Right.
This isn't something you can answer in 5 minutes.
No.
And I don't think it's intended or designed to be answered in 5 minutes.
Right.
Like, it's really meant to be a slow, I don't know if slow is the right word, but a process where you take time to actually, spend with yourself.
Gradual. It's
Yeah.
like you over time discover more aspects and facets of what it really looks like.
To be
It's
yourself.
like you fine tune it almost.
Correct. Yep. So, tying it back in, I mean, this guy was staring at the edge of a cliff wondering, what comes next,
Right.
right? Because he had never really was able, or I don't know if he wasn't able to, or just hadn't really thought about spending time outside of the framework of just Ford Motor Company,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and just kind of a side note for him, he wasn't able to make a choice at that time to retire. In fact, he is still working. And that was a couple years ago. He still hasn't retired.
Wow.
Even though he could. He's still there.
It's crazy how fear like keeps us from moving forward.
It does.
In those places.
Right. So it's kind of like the adage where he came to get ready to retire, but ended up he was getting ready to get ready.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he was getting ready to get ready.
Yep.
We see that a lot, don't we?
We do. We do. There's a lot of getting ready to get ready.
Yeah.
Because, he wasn't just walking away from a paycheck. He feels he was walking away from somewhere where he felt needed, from structure, being in the loop, you know. So it's not just, you know, you talk about walking away from something meaningful. I'll get to the just part in just a minute, but it's easy to drift. You know, if you don't really feel like you have purpose or anywhere that you're going to next. So it's not just what you're retiring from. A more important question I'm learning to ask clients is now, what are you retiring to? Right? And to really be mindful to try to have that conversation with our clients, because that, I think, is a huge component outside of the numbers and taxes and all those other things that, of course, have to be talked about. Because money's the tool, but purpose is the lifeline for retirement. So, you know, and, you know, we're not saying that your life has to look like a TED Talk or anything like that, but
Yeah.
This is still an important thing. You know,
because even if your life doesn't become something that could be like a quote unquote TED Talk, like it's just as profound and important that you find, you know, something that gives you meaning.
Right. And some people might say, well, hey, man, my grandkids are giving me meaning in retirement. Fantastic.
Spend as much time with your family as you can.
Yeah. So into that, you know, that generation, because, you know, just from a math perspective, whatever you put in them when they're 80 years old, you're still speaking through them, even though you might be already gone, but you've impacted. And how many people have they impacted in their 80 years that you actually sowed into? That you're tied to that,
right?
So make that meaningful impact. Or if you want to volunteer somewhere, you're a veteran and want to volunteer at your local veterans place. I mean, there's a lot of need there. Maybe you're a person that likes to use your hands, you know, and build things. Like this guy who worked for Ford, maybe, you know, had that engineer mind. Maybe he wants to keep working on cars,
right?
Or if you like to communicate, like I'm someone who, like, I'm built to communicate, connect dots. Okay, seems like kind of basic, but that means, like, if you're a communicator, you can write, you can speak, you can all sorts of ways to communicate out there, because people need to hear what's inside of you. So document your story. You know, write about your family, something that can be kept in perpetuity for your future generations.
Right.
You know, you know, traveling with purpose, joining a tribe, you know, finding that community, finding people. Maybe I know there's a lot of retirees that meet at McDonald's and drink coffee in the morning and talk, you know?
Yep. Anytime I'm at McDonald's in the morning, I see them and they're just hanging out. I'm like, you know what? That's the goal.
That's the goal right there. Yep. Keep moving, keep exercising. You know, if you find that purpose and you find that drive, it's, you know, that can really help with your longevity and your health. You know, who can you bless today? You know, what beauty can I create today? You know, what would make heaven happy today? Right? Those questions. You don't have to make headlines. You don't have to be famous. You just need to live on purpose. So, you know, it doesn't have to be something huge, but it has to be yours and something meaningful. And we just want to encourage everyone today to be thinking about this and not to be too tied up into just what you do, but to be, you know, who you are. Because we're more than our work. All of us are more than just what we do at work.
Yeah. And that all fades away. Like even this gentleman at Ford Motor Company, was looking to retire. He realizes, wow, like once I retire, it's over, you know? And then I got to figure something else out. When you find your identity in something like that, then once it's gone, it's like, who am I, right? Like these things are all like feeble. So you said it well, at least it makes sense to me when you said not like what am I going to do, but who am I going to be?
Yeah.
And that's you as a person.
Yeah.
Like your persona and what characteristics you take on and choose to embody.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily who am I going to be as a career, you know?
Right.
Because a job will go, a hobby, you know,
comes and goes.
A lot of it is law of diminishing return. You know, eventually it's like, I don't know if I like this anymore, that sort of thing. And so the question is like, who am I going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And again, like there's especially people in my generation where like I'm even asking my question this, but I'm realizing like how much my generation is asking this question, but like looking for the answer in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
We're scrolling on TikTok and Instagram Reels, trying to find some sort of like
Dopamine hit.
but not even that, just like some sort of niche social media account that has all the answers that we're looking for.
Yeah.
And not to say that God can't use that, because
Yeah.
I mean, many times I've seen a video and I was like, oh, you know what? That was the answer. Like that's what I was like talking to God about, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so we can,
Sure.
and which is again why we do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? We believe in the, it can bear good fruit.
It can.
But
It's a tool that can be put to good use.
it's a tool that can be put to good use. Correct.
Yeah.
But the mindless scrolling is kind of sad to me. It's like, man, we're just a generation that doesn't have a lot of purpose. But there is a lot of hope, though. Like there's a lot of revival, if you will, in my generation as well, and in other generations, and in the world right now. I think a lot of people are realizing it and coming to the realization that, hey, we're not living in reality right now. Let's live in reality and figure out who we're going to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, taking a step outside of the task to really just kind of get in touch with, what's really going on inside, I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in closing, it reminds me of another story. This person I've known most of my life. And my conversations with this person, I've always kind of know what I was going to get when I talk to this person, because you get to know somebody and you kind of know who they are and how they go, and I know what they did for a living, and great person. But when they retired, it was about 30 days after they retired, I was spending time with them and having a conversation, and I had a brand new conversation with this person after they retired, like 30 days in. It was really interesting. I found them to be more philosophical and deeper thinking, and there was more emotion in what they were sharing, because they tended not to share that a lot.
Right.
But I remember just sitting there going, wow, where's this coming from? And then it kind of dawned on me. They were out from underneath the weight of like the tasks of every day, and suddenly they were able to process different things that they didn't have time to think about in the busyness of what their career had brought them.
Right.
And I've always thought about that for everybody, you might think you know who you are when you're going through the daily tasks and everything, but if you give yourself time to stop and reflect, sometimes you might discover that there's other stuff going on in the background that now you have time to really think about. What makes you feel alive? I think that's a good question. What else is going on in you? What are you going to retire to? Be thinking about that question, especially if you got more than a year before maybe retirement.
Right.
Start thinking about that now. Start putting some of those things into practice. Get some things established, so when that career is over, you already got these other things you can hit the ground running with. The other parts of your life that you feel are going to make impact. So, because hey, like we say here, retirement should be the next most meaningful chapter in your life. It's not just the rolling credits at the end, right? So, if this was helpful today and you'd like to have a conversation about your retirement and talk about things besides just numbers and spreadsheets, we'd love to have that conversation with you as well. In the show notes, you'll get a link. You'll find a link there that goes to our calendar. You can book a time.
And if you'd like to look at your estate or legacy plan as a whole, there's a link down there for you to take a short quiz. Takes about 3 minutes to see kind of what your situation's at. And if you don't like what it looks like and you want to have a conversation, you can click the other link and we can do that as well.
Yeah. So thanks again for tuning in. Hit subscribe, and we look forward to being on your YouTube feed next week.